Spending a little time with me and for subscribing. I appreciate it. Please do if you haven't already. It means a lot. You know, I needed to do this video this morning because I watched the election last night, and I watched all the votes come in, and I wanted to share something with you because my last video, I think a lot of people thought that I was siding one way or another. I tried to make it clear that I think that the whole thing is rigged, that it's all a big show, and I did say that they are two sides of the same big corrupt coin. And when Trump was elected, I thought, my goodness, if this was a story, now, we don't really know if it is or not, but I'll tell you something. People are so angry today. People are hurting today. People are more broke today than ever before. They feel taken advantage of more than ever before. And they're really, really looking for change. And that's why so many people got out and voted for Trump. And that's why people were so passionate for Trump. And I got to tell you something. I think we're all being played. When Trump gave his victory speech last night, he made a big point of honoring Hillary and saying what just an amazing job she did for our country, and how proudly she served, and how really he made it sound like she had the best interests of the country in mind, and it was like, what?
Hillary has worked very long and very hard over a long period of time, and we owe her a major debt of gratitude for her service to our country. I mean that very sincerely.
I don't know if any of you had paid attention. I always thought that it was strange that these two good friends, because that's what they are. A lot of people don't know that the Trumps and the Clintons, well, they've been buddies for years. The Clintons sat front row at Trump's wedding. You don't sit front row at somebody's wedding unless you're close. There are plenty of pictures of the Clintons and Trump together on the internet. And over the years, because he is such a powerful businessman and he is such a man of great wealth and such a man of great connections, that if you don't think that this is all linked together, well, I think that you're living in the world that they want you to live in. And I think that you all need to follow the white rabbit down the rabbit hole. People wonder why I put these things behind me. I like tchotchkes. What can I say? Huh? But I think that we need to wake up and we need to dig a little bit deeper. And I think we need to look and to seek the truth instead of just accepting what we're told. Now, why don't you follow me a little bit? Why don't you follow me on this? What if this was all some big ruse, right? What if this was, I used to be, I was one of the top lead writers. There were two writers for the WWF when it was the World Wrestling Federation. Between 99 and 2001, I was, one of two guys who wrote and scripted everything. And one of the things that you find out is that we write these animosity-filled speeches towards each other. These wrestlers, you would think that they hated each other. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, it's all, as they say in the business, kayfabe. It's all a big show. It's all secret, We don't want the audience to know that they don't actually hate each other, that they're just trying to get the audience to buy into this story so they buy more tickets. And that's kind of what I think has been happening here over the last, I can't tell you how many years. People were angry and they were down and they were hurting and they were broke before Obama took office, right? And they wanted change, right? And so everybody, just kind of started taking to the streets, and we had the Occupy Wall Street movement, and we had people everywhere getting angry and standing up and saying, no more, right? And then Obama comes along, and he's different. We've never had an African-American president before. We vote for him, and we put him in office, and we're proud again, and we believe in America again, and things are going to change again. And guess what? Nothing changed. Things only got worse. If you have Obamacare, you understand that you're paying more money now than you've ever paid before. You were promised things, and you were lied to. And we're all being lied to on a regular basis. And what makes you think that this is any different? Why? Why do you think things are different now than they were before? Ivanka and Chelsea, best buds. They're friends. They've always been friends. Clintons, they don't just play golf together, they donate. Trump has donated over $100,000 to the Clinton Foundation. Trump's own lawyer, the head top guy, one of the biggest supporters of the Clinton campaign. Don't you think that's a little suspect? Now, I got to tell you, a lot of conspiracy theorists, as they're called, they get really bogged down in hand gestures. Well, I got to tell you, if there is something to be said about these secret hand gestures, well, then Donald Trump is the king of them, as he's always flashing that OK 666 sign every time he talks. On a regular basis, right? Now, I understand that people do that sometimes by accident. I've done it myself. I was taught to believe that that meant okay. But right now we know that there is more to it, that there are people behind the scenes that are programming us to believe. And what was it that we were being programmed to believe by Trump? That the system is rigged. It's rigged. That's what my last video was about how rigged the system is. And so we buy into this, right? We buy into the fact that the truth is finally coming out, right? WikiLeaks is showing us the truth is finally coming out, and Trump's standing up for it. And, really the worst they got on Trump. What is the worst they got on Trump? What, he made ties in China? The worst they got on Trump is what he had problems with, he was a little crude with some women. That's the worst. That's the worst they could dig up on this man. And I'm telling you, the worst that they could dig up on Clinton, well, it could be a lot worse, but they didn't. They didn't, did they? It's just enough. This whole thing with Comey and the FBI investigation, gets us so angry. We're so angry at the establishment, and we're so we're not going to take any more. But what if this was all a big story? What if we bought into this lie, this savior, Donald Trump, that a lot of people have put their faith in? What if he is just as guilty as the rest of them? Well, he has all the same friends. He's connected to all those ins and outs, those globalists, if you will. He is more connected to the bankers than anyone. And he's the one that's been telling us flat out, it's rigged, it's rigged, it's rigged. See, when that's part of the plan, right? You got to tell people what you're doing. You got to tell them ahead of time what you're doing. And I feel like we possibly have all been duped. I'm not too sure that this is on the level, if you will. I'm not too sure that things are going to get better for any of us. I think it's interesting, because part of brainwashing is if you can get people emotional enough and you can get them to buy into something and not think rationally and just think emotionally and use that reptilian brain, that snake that's on the tree in the middle of the garden, that reptilian brain, the brainstem, the fight or flight. If you can get people to focus on your lower carnal basis of thinking, if you can get people to judge from that place, from the reptilian, from the snake, as opposed to using that neocortex, that higher thinking, as opposed to using rational judgment, well, then you can just tell them anything you want. And you can sway them one way or another. The media, we've been told the media has rigged the election. Well, what have we been told for so long? We've been told how outraged we should be. And guess what? We all became outraged. And what's the next story that we're being told? Well, it's time to take down the terrorists, right? That's the whole thing. And Trump is the best for that. Now, this brings me to a letter that was written by Albert Pike. I don't know if you've ever heard of this. Well, he's a big-time Freemason, right? And this letter that was on display in I believe it was a museum in England. It's no longer there. But it dates back before World War I, World War II. And the spooky thing about this is that this letter that they say was written by Albert Pike laid out a plan, a new world order plan, which, by the way, I couldn't find the clip, but a CNN reporter, one of my readers, actually commented and said, a CNN reporter just said, "Welcome to the New World Order. Should I be scared?" I don't remember who it was, but that got me thinking, wow, because that's exactly the way I felt when I heard Trump's speech. I mean, I got to tell you, for a second there, I thought, wow, maybe he's not going to win after all. Maybe it will be Hillary. And I bought into it just like everybody else. I bought into the story. But then when he spoke and when he said how amazing Clinton was, I said, oh my goodness, it's got to all be a sham. And we've all been duped. And we've been told all along the way, it's rigged, it's rigged, it's rigged. The media is rigging it. The media is telling us what we want to hear. So Albert Pike wrote this letter, and he details 3 world wars. The first war was to bring an end to the Tsars in Russia. And basically, as it reads, that the agents of the Illuminati, if you will, between the government and Germanic, between Britain and Germany, will be used to foment this war. And at the end of the war, communism will be built up and used in order to destroy the other governments and weaken other religions. So the first war was really about bringing an end to the czars, bringing about communism, and weakening other religions. Now, in the same letter that was written long before the first war, that actually happened. The second war must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences between the fascists and the political Zionists. This war must be brought about so Nazism is destroyed, and the political Zionism must be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel in Palestine. During the Second World War, international communism must become strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which would then be restrained and held in check until the time we would need it for the financial social cataclysm. Second World War. It was written long before the Second World War took place. And guess what? We have Israel. We have everything that it said. Now here's where it gets really spooky, right? The Third World War, according to Pike's letter, must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam and political Zionism, the state of Israel, mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, this is where it gets really spooky, people. Pay attention. The other nations, like us, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economical exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, the origin of savagery and bloody turmoil. So in other words, it's Third World War, social cataclysm, get everybody to fight, get everybody to hate, get everybody to just want to tear down their neighbor for their so-called views that they've been fed. And we are more divided now, like I said before, than I've seen in my lifetime. People hate each other. Right now, there are protests going on because of a so-called battle between the red and the blue. Look those colors up, okay? The red and the blue, the Republicans and the Democrats. Both sides of the same corrupt coin. Then, this is the end of it. Well, I mean, it goes on, but this is really where it gets spooky. Everywhere, the citizens, obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries, terrorists, will exterminate those destroyers of civilization and the multitude, disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, but without knowing where to render its adoration. They will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer that is finally brought into public view. So basically the idea here is people are going to get so fed up with religion. They're going to get so fed up with everything. They're going to basically just turn away from it all. We're going to turn on each other, and they're going to just want to have some kind of peace and security. And so what are we going to do? You know, we're going to turn to that one world order that is going to come out of the ashes left behind. So you tell me, are we on track to that right now? Do you think that Trump is going to be harder on terrorism than any before? Do you think that this new administration is going to set us at war against Muslims? Do you think that a more religious war is going to come to pass? Do you think that we're going to see more of our religious ideals torn away? And do you think that more and more people are going to become angry with how things are and declare, I don't want any of the part of it anymore? I think that there is a good possibility that all of this is just a show. And I think we have all bought into it. And I think we all need to open our eyes wide open, because he honored Clinton during his victory speech. Whatever happened to, once I'm elected, going to have you arrested and thrown in jail? Whatever happened to crooked Hillary? Whatever happened to all of that speak?
Hillary has worked very long and very hard over a long period of time, and we owe her a major debt of gratitude for her service to our country. I mean that very sincerely.
Seems very disingenuous. Either he was lying before or he's lying now. Either way, the wounds of this country, they aren't going to be healed. They're going to be ripped further apart unless people wake up and come together and unite and stop listening to what the media tells us and stop choosing a side and start choosing each other. It's time to pray, people. It's time to pray. I mean, what else you got, really? Where are we going to get answers? You going to get answers from the TV? You going to get answers from me? Go within, you know? Seek something more than what you're being told. Take some quiet time. Say, teach me the truth no matter what the cost. If there is a God, and I do believe there is, you will get an answer if you desire it. And I think that now we need to put our faith on higher things and stop listening to that lower, manipulated brainstem called the reptilian brain or the snake hanging from the tree, because it only gets us in trouble.